Greetings friends, Jawless Paul here. We're back with another Hades video. This is another tips, tricks, guide video. We're talking about the Legendary Boons today. I'm going to go through all of the Legendary Boons, how to find them, and then just kind of my thoughts on them, whether they're worth the effort, and yeah, give them a general power level, although don't get too bent out of shape about these. Let's get right into it. I just want to preface it too that these are all really good. I mean, like they're legendary for a reason, so they're very, very good. My thoughts on them are kind of just based on like comparison with one another. All right, let's start with Aphrodite. Aphrodite's legendary is Unhealthy Fixation. Weakening attacks have a chance to charm enemies as well. And the charm duration, I think it's listed as 4 seconds, but that varies based on the enemy. So if you're fighting a boss, it's not 4 seconds, it's like 1 second. So this is kind of a strange ability. It requires a weakening effect. So a tier 1 ability basically. That's your attack, your special, your cast, or your dash. Her call does not have a weak effect, so that doesn't count. And then you need Sweet Surrender or Empty Inside. Those are the tier 2 weak boons for Aphrodite. And once you've got those, one of each, you have a chance of finding the legendary boon. With all these legendary boons, the way that it works is you have a certain rarity chance at all times, and that's impacted by your keepsake. If you're using a specific keepsake, that buffs the rarity of the boons that you'll find, and you can also get them from chaos rarity. And then I can't think if there's any more. If there's any other ones that that boost rarity. I think that there are, but I'm just blanking on them at the moment. So her ability is pretty strong. It's not game breaking, I wouldn't say, but it's certainly a lot of fun to watch Hades get ready to do a massive swing, and then suddenly he's charmed and he's walking in the other direction for just a second, and then he starts attacking you again. So it's one of those things it's not gonna like it's pretty fun. I mean, it's pretty enjoyable to watch enemies get turned around mid attack sometimes, and it certainly gives you reprieve. So like if you think about it this way, if you're attacking Hades, and every once in a while when you're attacking Hades, maybe every 5th or 6th or 7th hit, weakening hit, he just stops doing stuff for a second. That's pretty amazing, right? Like especially when you get to higher speeds, where every second counts and you're trying to avoid getting pummeled by him. Yeah, it's pretty useful. So I give this one I'll put it right in the middle. It's B tier. It's not the most amazing thing in the world. We'll talk about some of the ones that I think are really amazing, but it certainly has a pretty cool effect. All right, that's Aphrodite. Next, we've got Ares, and Ares, his legendary boon is Vicious Cycle. Vicious Cycle, it causes your Blade Rift effects to increase in damage the longer that the Blade Rift is on an enemy. So for this, you need to have obviously a Blade Rift ability, so your Rift Dash, I think it's called, or your Blade's cast, or his call, which turns you into a Blade Rift. All of those abilities open up the possibility of finding either Black Metal or Engulfing Vortex. Those are the tier 2 boons for Ares, or 2 of the tier 2 boons for Ares, and then the ones that affect Blade Rifts. And then you have a chance to find Vicious Cycle. So, what do I think about Vicious Cycle? I like Vicious Cycle. It's so okay. If all you have is the vanilla cast, Ares vanilla cast, or you only have his dash, this is not. I mean, you should still take it. It's still amazing, but it's not gonna break the game like it would if you have, say, Hunting Blades, where the Blade Rift follows enemies around, or his call, where you can manually follow enemies around, and the damage just keeps getting higher and higher and higher. This can truly be an enormous amount of damage, and it's a lot of fun to watch. It's fun to watch those numbers tick higher and higher. I don't rate this at S tier simply because it's hard to make it all come together, right? And then Black Metal and Engulfing Vortex, while good, are not... They don't impact you as much as some of these other ones will. Tier 2 boons, I mean. They're fine. I think Black Metal causes you to... or makes it bigger. The Blade Rift is bigger. And Engulfing Vortex causes enemies to kind of get sucked in. Both good. I mean, they're good effects, no doubt. But and then you have to find that, and then you have to have one of these, good Blade Rift abilities. The regular cast will it'll fly through an enemy, and so Vicious Cycle it'll tick up a little bit, and then as soon as it stops doing damage to that enemy, it starts over. If it hits the enemy again for some reason, like if it bounces off a wall, it starts over with damage. So it's not going to have the scaling up effect that Hunting Blades or his Call would have. So A tier, a lot of fun, and hard to find. Not the hardest, but certainly a difficult one to find. All right, that is Ares. Next we have Artemis. Artemis's legendary is called Fully Loaded. You get 3 more cast stones. In order to get this, you have to get either Quick Reload, Exit Wounds, or Burst Shot. One of those 3. So it works a little bit differently for Artemis from other gods. You don't need a tier 1. You just need to get Quick Reload, Exit Wounds, or Burst Shot. Okay. Here's the thing about Artemis that makes it pretty bonkers in my opinion. So if you're running a cast build, if you want cast stones anyway, guess what? You also really want Quick Reload, Exit Wounds, Burst Shot, especially Burst Shot. Burst Shot is potentially the single biggest additional source of damage that you can get in one boon. I mean, especially if you're doing primarily cast damage, it's amazing. It's a really good boon. So you want those anyway. If you're going for a cast build, you're going to want to find Artemis, and you're going to want to get at least one of those. Hopefully you find Burst Shot, but Exit Wounds is also amazing. Quick Reload is also amazing if you don't have Poseidon's blade. So this one is really easy to find. At least I think so. I like cast builds a lot, especially lately. They're a lot of fun. And so I find Fully Loaded a lot, and it is amazing. So I'd say that this is an S tier legendary. It's fairly reliable to find. I mean, a legendary is never guaranteed, but if you're already going for specific boons that are going to boost your build so much, yeah, that just makes it a little bit all that easier to get there. And then having 3 more casts, if you think about it, it's doubling your damage potential with your casts, because you have just that many more to send out, or that many more to load into an arrow. Yeah, I think it's amazing. It's really good. It's really fun. All right, so that's Artemis. Athena, Divine Protection. This one requires you to get Brilliant Repost. That's a tier 2 boon that you need to have a tier 1 deflect ability. So that's her call, that's her attack, her special, her cast, her dash. One of those will unlock the possibility that you find Brilliant Repost. And once you have Brilliant Repost, Divine Protection has a chance of showing up. The trouble is, and I don't know the numbers behind all this, maybe someone else can data mine something and find out, what what this truly is, but Brilliant Repost is very rare, and I don't know why that is, but it's hard to get Brilliant Repost, and so it's really hard to get Divine Protection. So is it worth the effort? I actually, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, I had a series of videos where I just kept trying to get Divine Protection, like run after run. That was like my number 1 goal, is to find Divine Protection, because I wanted to try it out. I wanted to see what it looked like. I wanted to, and what it does is, so it's a shield that blocks a single instance of damage, and then goes on a 20-second cooldown. Okay, so 20 seconds is a long time in this game. It's a long time to be without your shield, especially if you're fighting Oh, Hades. Say Hades. You're fighting Hades, and you get hit by a butterfly, and 20 seconds. You have 20 seconds before the shield comes back. That legendary boon is doing absolutely nothing for you, and it's a bummer. I like it. I like the idea of this boon a lot, but I think 20 seconds is way too punishing. It's really it makes it a lot less exciting than it potentially could be. I don't know if they need to reduce the cooldown, or if they need to make it like 2 attacks or something, but having it just go away after 1 attack just feels like a bummer. Feels like a bummer, especially after all the effort you have to take to get it, to find it. So I give it a C. It's not everything it's cracked up to be, I don't think. Combined with how hard it is to find, I think it's not worth the effort. I mean, it's still cool. Of course you're gonna pick it up if you see it. It's fun, but is it all that strong? I don't know. I'm not sure it is. All right, let's move on to Dionysus. Dionysus, his legendary is called Blackout. Enemies who are in festive fog and are poisoned receive 100% additional bonus damage. Okay, and in order to get this, you need Tipsy Shot, first of all, because it's the only way to get festive fog. And then you need Peer Pressure, Numbing Sensation, or Bad Influence. Those are all tier 2 boons that buff your poisoning ability. So your poisoning abilities are your attack, your special, and your call, I believe. Those are the ones that you have. Oh, and your dash. So what do I think of Blackout? Blackout. So I was starting to think. So actually, I should come clean. I have not found Blackout. I have not found it. But I'm certain that it would be amazing if you can pull it off. If you can pull off all of that crap, and you can lay down festive fog and get enemies poisoned, it's going to do a ton of damage. On a poison-based build, this is a huge bonus to your damage. It's massive. It's enormous. So I think that it's incredibly potent, but it's so hard to find, and it's kind of, I think it's kind of awkward. Like, they have to be poisoned and they have to be in the fog. Like, so they run into the fog and they're taking extra damage, and they run out of the fog. And to me, that seems like an awkward. I wouldn't want to rely on that, or it's not that exciting to me, because it's like, how often is that really happening? How often are they taking the additional damage? I give it an A. It's not a broken ability, but it certainly is a ton of damage. It just requires a lot of funky things to happen at the same time. It happens a lot. I mean, I shouldn't pretend that it doesn't, because it totally does, especially if you're running a poison build. It'll happen a lot. So Blackout, A tier, cool. I want to try to find it. I haven't found it though. So it's all theoretical. You should take that. Okay, Poseidon next. Second Wave. Second Wave causes an additional knockback. So a shove after the first knockback effect. In order to find this, you need a knockback effect. So that's your attack or your special or your cast or your dash or your call, Poseidon's call. And then you need Breaking Wave, Razor Shoals, or Typhoon's Fury. So Breaking Wave, Razor Shoals, and Typhoon's Fury are pretty good. I guess I'll divide them into two groups. Breaking Wave and Typhoon's Fury, those are excellent for regular rooms where you're fighting enemies and like lots of little enemies, and then not so good against bosses. They can go off, but bosses just aren't knocked back as far, and so knocking a boss into a wall is kind of rare. And like the Hydra, you can't. I don't think you can knock the Hydra into a wall. Someone's gonna come back and say, "Oh, I did it all. I do it all the time." It's you knock the Hydra back into the wall all the time. Maybe that's fine. And then Breaking Wave and Typhoon's Fury, that's gonna do a lot of extra damage. But really, what you're looking for is Razor Shoals. Razor Shoals is Poseidon's curse, and so and Razor Shoals lasts a decent amount of time. It's one of the curses that lasts a little bit longer, and so it's a good one when you're trying to find privilege status. Which, if you don't know, privilege status is when you have two different curses damage is increased by 50%. So that's a very good effect that you want to have on as often as possible. What do I think about second wave? I think second wave is decent. It can be pretty hilarious. I mean, it's a cool effect in the sense that, like, especially if you have a lot of like large area knockback effects, you see enemies just kind of bouncing around the room in weird ways, and like it almost looks like something is glitching, which is sort of fun. It doesn't do a ton of damage on its own, I wouldn't say, except if you have like Typhoon's Fury or Breaking Wave and things are hitting the wall more than once, and then it's doing more. But if you're just running a build where you're trying, that's just one of your sources of damage, it's not gonna do a crazy amount. I'd say if you have the Sea Storm duo boon, then it's really, really good to have second wave. It's another lightning strike of 40 damage. It could be another instance of Razor Shoals, and if you have Jolted, so it just kind of refreshes those two, which you want to refresh Jolted as often as possible because enemies attack and then they take the damage, and you've got privileged status. So second wave is very, very good on that build, but in general, I'd give it a B. It's a B tier. It doesn't have a damaging effect on its own. So that kind of puts it a little bit lower on the list. It's easy to find. I think second wave might be my most commonly found legendary, and well, with an exception. I'll explain that in a minute, but B tier. All right, but the last of the kind of the core gods, I'd say, is Zeus. Splitting Bolt, an additional electric burst, slow-moving spark that bounces 5 times and does 40 damage. Happens when you do lightning damage. In order to get this, you need either a chain lightning ability or a lightning strike ability, and then you need storm lightning, high voltage, or double strike. Okay, so splitting bolt. The thing about this, I feel like splitting bolt is very similar to Artemis. So if you're going full ham on Zeus, you were trying to get Zeus lightning stuff happening all the time. You've got his call, you've got his special, and lightning strikes are just happening, and your his attack too, for that matter. You're gonna want storm lightning. You're gonna want high voltage or double strike. So yeah, it works with all of your lightning effects once you get that, but you need storm lightning, high voltage, or double strike. And so here's the thing about any of those secondary boons. If you want lightning strikes, you most definitely want double strike and high voltage. If you have a chain lightning build, you most definitely want storm lightning. Okay, so those are things that are going to be incredibly potent anyway. Double strike is potentially one of the best second or tier 2 boons that you can find. So basically, any lightning strike has a chance to just strike twice. Okay, so you got double strike. High voltage makes the area of the lightning strikes bigger, so it hits more enemies. And then storm lightning is for your chain lightning, so it bounces more times. Okay, those are all amazing. And so then when you add in splitting bolt, each of those instances sets off this little electric burst thing. It looks like a little chain lightning ball, but it goes slowly across the map, and enemies that walk through it, it just does 40 damage to. Okay, so you fill the screen with lightning is what happens. The effect of this. So I think that this is S tier personally. Maybe other people disagree, but I think that Zeus is just a really, really high level god. And what's nice about him is that especially for new players, you don't have to have a ton of skill to play a Zeus build. Pro tip: take Zeus, get his special, and get his call, and just get as much bonuses to his lightning strikes. Get high voltage, get double strike, and then if you can get his legendary, then you're just going to fill the screen with all of your lightning abilities, and it's amazing. It's pretty cool, and it's a lot of fun. I still think I've mentioned this before, but I think lightning is one of the coolest effects in the game. It's coolest looking anyway. So yeah, S tier. It's pretty sweet. Zeus's kit is pretty awesome, and this just makes you win even more. All right, so let's move on to kind of the other gods, I guess you could say, and one of them maybe isn't a god. We'll talk about that. But anyway, so Hermes is the god of travel and delivering messages. He's the messenger god. Okay, so he's got two legendary boons, actually. He's got relative speed and greater recall. And the only thing you need to find these is any other Hermes boon. So if you've picked up a Hermes boon, you then have a chance of finding either relative speed or greater recall. So this is a little bit tricky to rank. Greater recall is situationally very good, especially if you've got a... if you're running a cast build at all and you want to collect your stones, it's very, very good. And in fact, it can take your run to the next level if the stones are automatically coming back to you. A lot of builds where you're staying at range, you're just waiting to pick up your stones before you can do your next instance of damage. And so greater recall is amazing. On a Hera bow build, for instance, this would be awesome. On a hunting blades build, this would be awesome. I think it's really useful. It's completely, not completely, but it's mostly useless if you're not doing a cast build, I guess. So you can go for it, right? Like if you're doing a cast build, actually, and I should say greater recall. If you're doing a cast build, you should be going for Hermes boons a lot. You should be trying to get Hermes boons because you're trying to get the rapid cast Hermes boon, where it makes your cast like a machine gun, like auto cast. Basically, you just hold down the button and you fire everything out. If you can get that, and you've got Artemis, so you've got 6 cast zones, maybe you've got double, or you got burst shot, so you've got doubles. So you're just firing out so many casts, and then then you get greater recall on top of that, and they all come back to you, and you can reset your damage. It's amazing for that build. For a cast build, it's S tier. I think it's S tier. But for any other build, it's just nice. It's a B tier. Okay, and then relative speed. When you dash near enemies, they are slowed by 50% for 1 second. This has a strong effect on the game. There's no question, slowing your enemies by 50% for a second after you dash, and you're dashing all the time, so you're constantly slowing enemies. I guess I've taken it a few times before, and it doesn't feel like things change a whole lot when you take this boon. You're definitely slowing things down, but it doesn't slow projectiles. But it'll slow their movement, it'll slow their attacks by half. So, but it's only for a second. So I guess I'm not exactly sure how to feel about this one. I think it can be really good, but it just seems it all happens so fast, and it's hard to notice it. I think I'll give it a solid B, I guess. But I feel like it's, as far as legendaries go, when you compare it to the other legendaries, I'm not sure it's the crazy thing that the other ones are, right? So anyway, that's my thoughts on Hermes boons. And then finally we have Chaos. Chaos has a legendary boon. If you didn't know, he's got a legendary boon. It's Chaos Defiance. It's another Death Defiance that you can get, and this one does stack on top of the 3 that you're only allowed to have 3 in the game, but you can add Skelly's Death Defiance for 4, and then if you find Chaos's Defiance boon, you can get a 5th one. There's no prerequisites. So okay, full disclosure again, I've never found this. It's very rare. According to sources, the wiki, there are no prerequisites, and it's not affected by rarity, which I find really interesting. So it's not affected by the egg, and it's not affected by your mirror, which can boost rarity, or does boost rarity if you upgrade it. and it's not, or I shouldn't say it doesn't just boost rarity when you upgrade it. There's specific things that you can invest darkness into in the mirror that are to increase rarity. Okay, just to be clear. So it's not affected by rarity. I mean, having an additional Death Defiance is never bad. It's always really good. So I think it's A tier. Getting another Death Defiance without having to pay for it, and obviously you have to go through the Chaos Curse for however many rooms, but yeah, it's just really hard to find, right? I've played, I don't know how many runs I've done. I think it's in the mid 200s runs, and I rarely find it, or I've never found it, and so I don't know. I guess it's cool, but so rare that it's kind of almost moot how good it is. All right, that covers all of the gods and all of their legendary boons. This is part one of a two-part series that I'm doing on boons. This is the legendary boon video, and then after this, we'll have the duo boon video. Okay, so where I talk about all the duo boons, what I think about them, how hard are they defined, and what do I rank them tier-wise. What do you think of the list? Leave a comment below. Would you adjust it in any way? Yeah, I love you all. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, share this video if you want to with your your friends and family or on social media. I would appreciate it. You guys have been amazing. Take it easy. We'll catch you in the next one. Whatnot. Kind of weird. Whoa! No way! I literally, I just made a video, or I'm in the middle of making a video, and I talked about this very thing that I've never seen it before.